Welcome back. My name is Dr. Adam Manley and I'm from Western Michigan University, and this is the second session in the pre-apprenticeship course, and this session is entitled Soft Skills. The agenda for this presentation is going to be one, to define what are soft skills, and then to highlight some of the more important soft skills for plumbing and HVACR technicians. Those would be appearance, interview skills, communication skills, teamwork skills, time management skills, problem solving and troubleshooting skills, negotiation skills, and then we're going to talk a little bit about employer expectations and work ethic. Soft skills is a term used to describe on-the-job abilities that go beyond an employer's job description. For example, a technician's ability to work efficiently with coworkers, communicate with clients, and manage projects would be lumped together under the soft skills banner. In general, soft skills are really the hardest skills to learn, and not having them is the major reason why people do not advance on the job. No matter what field you may work in, the ability to work together and communicate with our employers, coworkers, and others are major factors in how well we do in our professions. Plumbers and HVACR technicians and others in the service industry find that the ability to interact with others is probably the most important part of their jobs. People who communicate well are in the highest demand no matter what kind of work they end up doing. Now, in my profession, I teach all different types of courses, but one of them is entitled Career and Employability Skills. And that is a course that prepares instructors to teach career and employability skills, or soft skills as they're sometimes called. And in Michigan, we have 10 career employability skills that we try to teach apprentices, adult learners, and even high school students. The first soft skill or apprenticeship skill would be applied academics. You have to know the math and science as it relates to your discipline. In plumbing and HVACR, there is a lot of science and there is particularly a lot of math, and we'll talk about that in later sessions. The other thing that you have to think about is how to plan your career. There's a major difference between jobs and careers. The other one that's kind of important, although you may not think it's important in every profession, and that is developing and presenting information. You may not actually get up in front of a group of people and present. However, you're always trying to develop an argument or an idea and then present it to somebody, whether it's a coworker or a supervisor. And so really, we all need to know how to develop information and how to present it in some way. Another one that we teach is problem solving. You have to be able to problem solve, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to it. One that we really focus a lot of attention on as well is called personal management. And that is something that we're going to talk about in this session as when we talk about work ethic and appearance. Organizational skills is obviously another important soft skill. And basically, it's really interesting because we organize 4 main things in our lives. We organize money, time, materials, and believe it or not, we organize people. We organize our loved ones, our coworkers. We have to work efficiently with those individuals. On a similar manner, we have to be able to work within teams. It's incredibly important in almost every discipline, but especially yours. Another important one is negotiation skills. We may not all become salespeople or negotiators. However, we're always trying to negotiate something that either benefits us or benefits the profession. And lastly, a very interesting one that we won't focus on too much in this particular session, but one that we focus on in the courses I teach, and that is understanding systems. Basically, what understanding systems means is understanding the big picture of things. Why you are employed with whom you are employed with, why maybe people above you may make more money, people below you may make less money, and the job responsibilities entailed within every one of those different careers. It's understanding your role within an organization. And then the last one is using employability skills. And that basically is the way we teach that one is developing your resumes and interview skills so that you can actually become employed and then advance within employment. So these are the ones that we talk about. And the reason I wanted to highlight these is that while we're going to talk about soft skills in a different way or using different terms, they're basically the same thing. They're called workplace skills, transferable skills, workplace readiness skills, and they're also called soft skills. Now, what's interesting is when we look at some of the facts, research conducted by Harvard University, the Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Research Center concluded that 85% of job success comes from having well-developed soft and people skills, and only 15% of job success comes from technical skills and knowledge, which are what we consider those hard skills. So basically what we're getting at here is many can learn technical skills. You can read all the books, you can do all the work, and you can learn the technical skills, but very few master these soft skills. And those that master the soft skills end up becoming the ones that advance in employment. Here's an example related to the soft skills, and that is professionalism. So let's watch this.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Ramon.
You're late, Jason.
I know, Ramon.
Second time this week, Jason.
I know, Ramon.
What are you gonna do about it, Jason?
Okay, I know, I get it.
You better get it. We got a thing around here called professionalism. Professionalism means getting to work on time.
Okay, I know, I get it.
You better get it. All right, we got a truck to unload. Let's go. Tuck in that shirt, Taylor, right? Ready for a lunch break?
Sure.
Not bad, not bad. You done?
Yeah, I'm done. Straighten up those shelves just like you told me to.
Why didn't you straighten up those other shelves while you were at it?
You didn't tell me to do that.
So you just do only what I tell you to? You don't have any initiative of your own? You know, we got a little thing around here called professionalism.
Yeah.
And professionalism means if you see something that needs to be done, you do it without anybody telling you.
Okay, I'll do these shelves after lunch. And I'll make sure the rest are straight too. You worked me hard today, Ramon.
Yeah, well, you did a good job. And hard work is good for you.
Hey, Ramon, could I leave that stuff there and get it first thing tomorrow morning?
Yeah, well, you could, but you know, we got a little thing around here.
Called professionalism, I know. All right, I'll get it now.
You're learning, pal. Every job demands professionalism. Professionalism means conducting yourself with responsibility, integrity, accountability, and excellence. It means communicating effectively and finding ways to be productive. Every employer expects you to conduct yourself in a professional manner. And if you do that, you'll be a highly prized employee. To find out more, just log on to the website.
So, that video, while short, highlighted many of the important soft skills within your profession that you're about to enter into. They talked about appearance, they talked about communication skills, they talked about working within teams. So what we're going to talk about are these, along with a few other ones: interviewing skills, time management, problem solving and troubleshooting, negotiation skills, and then talk about work ethic and employer expectations. So when we talk about appearance, basically what we're talking about here is maintaining a neat and clean appearance allows you to make a good impression every time. In fact, a clean and consistent appearance is why so many plumbing and HVACR contractors require that their technicians wear company uniforms to work. Uniforms provide a crisp look that identifies the company and shows professionalism. However, be aware that no matter how neat and clean you believe that you appear, there are always going to be cultural stereotypes and stigmas that exist. People of different ages and generations and backgrounds perceive others differently. So let's look at some examples of this and see what you think. Here is one example. Steve is 25 years old. He would like to be an HVAC residential service technician. Steve has tattoo sleeves on both arms and a name tattoo on his neck. His first interview with an HVAC company is today. Assuming he wears a short-sleeved shirt like the individual in the picture, how might he be perceived by the company owner, who is a 50-year-old male, let's say? How might be he perceived by a female customer who is in her 30s? What about in her 60s? How might these perceptions differ from the actual reality? These are things that we have to think about as budding professionals in the HVAC and plumbing industry. Let's move on to another example. Vanessa is a 21-year-old female. She has applied for a position as a dispatcher at a plumbing company. When she goes in for the interview, she wears a very low-cut shirt, short skirt, heels, and a lot of perfume. How might she be perceived by the business owner, who is a 40-year-old male? How might she be perceived by a prospective coworker, who is a 50-year-old female? How might these perceptions differ from the actual reality? You see, in reality, both Steve and Vanessa might be honest, hardworking, and professional individuals who would be excellent employees for any company. However, first impressions matter, and they may lead to the business owner making a different decision. Likewise, customers are most comfortable when the first impression they get is a positive one. Technicians that are neatly dressed in a clean uniform most often make the most positive first impression. So while we live in a society that would like to think everyone is equal, first impressions really do still matter. So we want to make sure that we are very professional in our appearance. The next thing we're going to move on to is talking about interview skills. One, we need to make sure that we develop and update a resume often, and that we also have a job portfolio. Maybe the job portfolio has pictures or videos of previous work. We've also got to practice our job interview skills by doing role-playing with others. I recommend that you do this role-playing for an interview with a close friend or mentor and ask them to give you constructive feedback on how you can improve your skills. In some of the courses that I teach on job search strategies, I actually have my students record themselves answering questions, common interview questions. And typically we do this with some type of video device so that they can actually not only hear themselves answering the questions, but also see the way they look when they're answering the questions, and it helps tremendously. So even if you don't have a mentor or a close family member willing to do this, you can even do this by yourself. Of course, I'm not sure if you ever watched a video of yourself. It's a tough thing to do, but you really do learn a lot when you do that. Now, you need to check the course website for some helpful links that we've put on there. Your resume is a key to finding a job in any industry, so we do have some online resources available on the course website. One of them is the University of Maryland's University College. They have a really good resume tutorial that walks you through each step of crafting a resume to help you stand out as a candidate. And when you've sent out that resume and have scheduled your first interview, there's some online resources that can help you with some good interviewing skills. Once again, that University of Maryland Career Services website is a great place to start. And so I have both of those links on the course website for you. When it comes to communication skills, typically what we're talking about here is that communication skills are the single most important set of skills for any plumber or HVACR technician. From the job interview to closing a sale with a customer, communication skills are a component of almost everything a technician does in the field. Active listening is a technique in which a listener focuses completely on the speaker and then repeats in the listener's own words what he or she thinks the speaker said to ensure that there is some understanding. This technique is especially helpful with customers who are explaining a problem with a plumbing or HVAC system in their home or business. It allows the technician to determine the customer's needs and figure out how to meet those needs. It is critical that plumbing and HVACR technicians develop the ability to clearly explain a problem and a solution to customers. Good verbal communication, including explaining technical concepts in layman's terms so customers can understand the problem and your solution. Two things to avoid in such discussions are technical jargon and talking down the customers. Your role is to find a balance point between the two that treats the customer with dignity and respect. Within the verbal communication skill set is the ability to deal with difficult people. We've all dealt with them and we will continue to deal with them. Often plumbing and HVACR technicians encounter customers who are irate. Remember that they are not typically irate with you, but they are angry at the situation. Your best approach is to remain calm. Apologize for the inconvenience and the problem they are facing and reassure the customer that you can solve it for them as quickly as possible. Finally, practice effective body language when communicating with others. Eye contact is critically important. Standing up straight, smiling when talking with customers makes them feel at ease with you and makes you appear trustworthy. And finally, develop effective written communication skills. All plumbing and HVACR technicians have record-keeping requirements that must be met. Be sure to accurately and neatly record all work done at customers' home and business for the protection of both the customer and the contractor. Also be sure to keep accurate time records as required by your employer. Any other written communication, such as company email, should follow policies and procedures of your employer. Here's a video you should watch.
The differentiating behaviors that make one company stand out among the competition are few and rather basic. It doesn't have to be complicated. When service professionals enable customers to perceive something positive, then the first impression works to your advantage. However, the opposite occurs when customers see something they perceive as a problem, such as a messy truck, or perhaps the manner in which the truck is parked. A customer's first impression is also their final decision. And once a customer's mind is made up, it's hard to change. Therefore, the best strategy is not to get there in the first place. And this goes even deeper. The way a service professional speaks can also cause a customer to make assumptions about a technician's intellect, attention to detail, and expertise. You may be the best technician in town, but if customers think otherwise, that's their final decision. In the following video clip from one of my seminars, you'll see an interesting example about the power of verbal articulation and the tone of voice. Consonants and vowels. The purpose of a consonant is to separate the vowels. It's a key behavior. When a person doesn't allow their consonants to separate their vowels, they slur their speech. Yet when you hear that articulate tone of voice, it's just the opposite. They sound energetic, they sound more intelligent, better educated, some of those small things. But in Philadelphia, there's this common question sentence. It's 4 letters. Write these 4 letters down. You ready? Followed by a question mark. J-E-E-T, question mark. What does it ask? Jeet? Yeah, in Philadelphia. Hey, Jeet. Now, Jeet is something you hear in Philadelphia, but if you were to consciously allow the consonants to separate the vowels, you would write 3 words. Did you eat? Question mark. That slurred speech is something anyone can do. It happens to almost everyone. And these nuances, they're small, they may seem trivial, but it all has a cumulative effect on the vocal image. Words matter. And in the same way that customers make assumptions about a messy truck, they will also assume a service professional is smarter and more capable when a customer hears courtesy and proper grammar. For example, if you were to do something nice for a customer, such as carry their newspaper up to their front door, the customer may convey their appreciation, and this sets up a moment of magic. When a customer says, "Thank you," most service professionals would say, "No problem." However, what would happen if we changed "no problem" to "my pleasure"? Saying "my pleasure" demonstrates value, along with your willingness to serve, whereas saying "no problem" indicates that there is no value in your effort and that you don't care. So here's another seminar video clip about words and why customers make assumptions about what they hear. This is going to be profound. You better write this down. You ready? 2 words. May I. May I changes everything. How often in the course of a day are we saying things like, "Can I get that spelling of the last name? Can I get the address? How can I help you?" Think about all the times we use the words "can I," and what if we were to substitute the words "may I"? May I changes everything. How may I help you? May I have the spelling on that last name? May I have the address? Just sounds different. As you can see, just getting a few things right enables customers to perceive the value you bring to each customer encounter. These brief examples comprise only a fraction of my company's customer service and soft skills curriculum. Hundreds of service companies are achieving world-class excellence thanks to our innovative seminars and educational videos and books. If you want to learn more, feel free to give me a call or go to our website. Thanks for making the time to watch this video.
Okay, hopefully that last video kind of helped you understand the importance of communication, even down to the words you use. The next thing we're going to talk about is teamwork skills. Obviously, this is very important in your industry because of all the complicated and sometimes large jobs that you're going to have to complete. Working in teams is essential. Unfortunately, many of us think back to our high school, or if you attended college, your college career, and you think about working within teams, and it's usually a negative feeling. You have a negative connotation to working within teams. However, in the business world, it's absolutely essential. And some of the things that we're looking for when it comes to strong teamwork skills is that you have the ability to agree. You have an agreeability. And that's getting along with coworkers. You also have the ability to be coached. We all have to be coached by somebody, a mentor, a supervisor. And so it's the ability to be able to take direction respectfully. And then also we have to be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves in the knowledge we have. And when we don't have the knowledge necessary, then we get the help when we need it. The next slide is a video I want to show you, and I'll walk you through it, of kind of a deficiency that we as humans have regarding getting help when needed. Before I play the video, and you may have seen this video, it's a very interesting video called the Smoke in the Room experiment. It's an experiment that's been replicated many times over, and it shows basically what is considered to be called herd mentality, where we typically do what everyone else in the room is doing. We even look for them for direction. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video and kind of walk you through it. So what we have here is we've got an experiment set up where someone's come in to apply for a job. The person sitting down right now has no idea that this is an experiment. They actually think they're applying for a job. So here they are filling out the application. What they're doing is they're pumping in fake smoke into the room, although she doesn't know it's fake. So she notices it right away, looks very concerned, gets up, which I don't know if I'd go towards the smoke, but she did. She checks it out, realizes this may be a dangerous situation, and even does what they tell you to do on planes. She leaves her belongings there and just gets out of the room, right? Now, here's the experiment where here's another lady that's coming in for a job application, and what they've done is they've put a bunch of Confederates in the room, and those are people that a researcher has hired to do nothing more than to sit there and act like they're not seeing the smoke. So our unknowing job applicant here is filling out her application, and you'll notice she sees the smoke. A timer starts in the top right. The first thing she does is she looks around to see if other people see the smoke. And, of course, they've been hired not to do that. So as you can see, time keeps on lapsing by, and she's still not doing anything. If you look at the top right, we're now at 5 minutes and 44 seconds, and she's still sitting there as the smoke billows into the room. She's starting to get very nervous. "10 minutes have gone by, still no action on her part. 20 minutes have gone by, still no action on her part." And finally, the researcher calls her out because they need to get another interviewer in there. This is taking way too much time. So that's an extreme example, but I wanted to point that out because we sometimes have to be honest with ourselves about the fundamental flaws we have as humans. Typically, we look around and act just like everyone else acts, and we don't like to think about it that way, but it's so true. And in order to have effective teamwork skills, you've got to have the ability to look around, and if people are doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you need to make sure that you speak up. Similarly, if you're working within a team and you notice that the team needs some type of help that's not there, we've got to speak up. Groupthink, herd mentality destroys teams every day. Time management is another skill that's critically important. Basically, when we talk about time management, we're talking about setting priorities in your life and work. I remember when I was working with a group of machinists that own machine shops, and I was asking them about how's the hiring looking, and they said, well, we always can hire people. There's many people that need to work. The problem is we find a lot of folks don't want to work, and that was a very profound statement for me. I think what happens is that a lot of people set the wrong priorities, including time priorities. They'd rather focus time on their family when really they should probably be focusing on their career, and vice versa. And so it's important for us to set the right priorities at the right time. You're going to be entering into a profession that requires you to work overtime occasionally. In order for you to excel within the career, you're probably going to have to do that overtime, and therefore your job is going to take priority over your regular life. However, there'll be times where you should take a step back from work and focus on the family or loved ones, right? And so it's that time management balance. Some of the things that we can do as professionals is we can arrive either right on time or a little bit ahead of schedule. That's never going to hurt anybody's feelings. Arriving late says a lot and makes a bad first impression, as we talked about in the last a few videos ago. And then also keep all promises for delivery, installation, repair, dates, and times. And if you can't keep those promises, you better have a good reason why, and you better notify the client. Problem solving is another fascinating area where especially we find that the younger generation has a difficult time solving problems, but quite frankly, I think anyone young has a difficult time solving problems. When we look here at problem solving, there's a really fascinating experiment that's been done over and over many years since I think it started in the 1940s, and that's a Dunker experiment. And this is a great example of something I want to point out. The Dunker experiment, it goes like this. You have a table that's in the corner of a room. The walls are cork walls. You have a candle, you have a box full of tacks, and you have a book of matches. And what you're asked to do as a participant in this experiment is attach the candle to the wall in a way in which when you light the candle, the wax that drips from the candle will not hit the table. Typically, the first thing people do is they grab a couple tacks and they try to pin the candle up against the cork wall. The problem is that it invariably never works because the candle is too large and the tacks are too small. You can't get it to stay, right? So I'll give you a little idea. I'll give you a little time to try to figure out how you would solve this problem. Well, hopefully you solved the problem. Basically what you do is you look at that box of tacks and you realize that that box has another function other than holding tacks. You dump the tacks out on the table. You affix that box to the wall using a few tacks, however many it takes. You affix the candle through the box and onto the bottom of the candle. You light it, and now you have a place where the wax can go without getting on the table. What this highlights is a fascinating little concept called functional fixedness. Some folks have high functional fixedness, meaning that they see the function of something and that's all they see it as. So when we look at that box of tacks, some people look at that box of tacks and literally cannot see it other than it's a receptacle for tacks. And so that would be someone that has a high functional fixedness. Now you are trying to enter into a career in which functional fixedness probably isn't going to work that well for you. You're going to have to think beyond the typical function of things in order to troubleshoot and problem solve many times. And so you want to have a low functional fixedness. One of the problems we have when it comes to solving problems is we let the problem limit our thinking. And so the thinking process limits the way we look at things. And the problem with that is that our brains are fundamentally flawed. We always look for the shortest route to things, such as if I ask you which one of these towers is leaning more than the other, typically, my students at least, will say the one on the right is leaning more. Well, it's an optical illusion. And so if you spend a little bit more time focusing on it, you'll realize that, okay, the problem is not the leaning, the problem is I'm looking at two of the same pictures. Here's another common one you've probably seen before where, basically what we're talking about here is don't let the problem limit your thinking. And the problem is here is I want you to say the word you see. So that would be yellow, blue, orange, black, red, green. Okay, now go back up and try to say the color within the words. And that's a little bit more difficult. And it's because our brains have a difficulty taking the long road to stuff. We naturally look for the quickest possible way to get things done. And that is definitely in your profession not always the best thing. So what we try to do with problem solving is we try to hyper-focus on the problem, right? We try to look at all possible solutions, and when we really kind of focus on that problem, we sometimes can see things from a different perspective. And so what I want you to do with this little activity here, this is another one of my fun little optical illusions that I like to do occasionally in my classes, is if you really focus on that black dot and just look at it for a little while here, you should see that what you see changes, right? That your perspective changes. That's the whole goal with problem solving, is that we focus enough attention on it and we also are aware enough of our own deficiencies that we hopefully can change the perspective. Now, another one that we want to talk about is negotiation skills. These are also known as selling skills. So the role of a technician is really kind of a salesperson. Even if the technician does not offer an item for sale, the customer sees the technician as a salesperson for comfort. So if you think about it, repairing and replacing a component or system sells comfort and convenience. The technician is really the number one salesperson because he or she is on the job representing the company and has the opportunity to earn the trust of the customer. When it comes to replacing an expensive system or water heater, it is ideal if the technician can offer the customer a good, better, or best option, and then let the customer decide which option is best for his or her price range. Technicians can also offer the customer one improvement suggestion for each time they make a service or maintenance call. A technician may notice something important that needs to be replaced. If it's a little patch job, repair it. Otherwise, mention it in each visit. And then you write the recommendation or upgrade on the invoice so the customer will see that it's worthy enough to be documented. These are ways in which you really are selling your either service or product. Now, the second to last thing we want to talk about is work ethic. Work ethic, the definition of it is it's a set of moral principles and an employee uses on the job. And so there's 5 components to work ethic. One of them is integrity. An employee fosters trusting relationships with customers and coworkers and supervisors. The second one is responsibility. And that affects how an employee works and the amount of work he or she does, including showing up on time, putting in his or her best effort, and completing projects to the best of his or her ability. Another component of work ethic is emphasis on quality, doing more than the bare minimum and caring about the quality of work. The fourth one is discipline, commitment to finish tasks every day, always doing your part. And then the fifth one is a sense of teamwork. Help team meet its goals and deliver high quality work, and then also respect your peers and help them wherever you can. I think it's fitting that we end this particular presentation talking about employer expectations. In a very short amount of time, if you don't already, you will have an employer in this profession. And an employer expects his employees or her employees to accomplish something in exchange for compensation. And so this goes back to that thing about needing to work and wanting to work. They pay you, but they expect something in return. And so some of the things that they expect is that you arrive to work on time, that you drive the company vehicle more carefully than your own. In a company vehicle, you're driving a moving billboard. Your employer expects that his or her vehicles act to promote the business rather than detract from it. Also, the cost of business of poor driving could include property damage, personal injury, increased insurance costs. Any of these are very costly to the employer and therefore may be costly to the employee. The third one is be neat and clean in appearance. Just as you're expected to arrive at work on time, you're expected to arrive in a uniform and to be neat in appearance. On many occasions, you will be the first person the customer sees, and you'll be making that first impression that we've already talked about is so important. The fourth one is be an agreeable, effective member of your work team. This includes being coachable and able to take direction from your employer or supervisor. Being agreeable, you're showing your employer that you want to learn the trade. Also, your ability to get along with coworkers is critically important to the success of your work projects. Show proper respect for your employer, fellow employees, and customers. The fifth one is be honest. One of the most important traits of a good technician is honesty. If asked about anything, always state the facts in plain, clear language so the customer or your employer has a complete understanding of the situation and your knowledge of it. The sixth expectation is listening. Listening is a critical skill for plumbing and HVAC technicians. You will receive instructions from your employer verbally, and then you must understand what you've been instructed to do. If you don't understand it, then you ask for clarification. You must also listen to the customer to better understand and diagnose problems in the plumbing and HVAC systems. The seventh one is treat the owner's property or the client's property better than your own. Always treat the customer's property with the ultimate respect, and so that also means cleaning up after yourself. Eighth one is be a self-starter. Try to anticipate your journeyman's needs on the job. Do the most obvious things that need to be done each day without ever being asked. It will go a long way. 9. Keep your work area clean and safe. Be sure to clean as you go. Wind up cords that are not being used and sweep up debris out of the way. 10. Use the proper methods. Always use the proper techniques for a job you are performing. If you do not know the proper techniques, then you need to ask someone to show you. And the 11th one, keep growing in your knowledge and skills. Technology and techniques are going to always change. The best technicians are the ones that keep up with those changes. I appreciate that you've listened to this presentation. Now what I ask you to do is study the PDF version of this presentation, and then when you feel like you're ready, take the Session 2 quiz. And good luck. Thank you.